Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.
Welcome to the Give It Up podcast on urbanmediatoday.com, where we give it up for excellence, leadership, and greatness, and where we continue to use sports as a metaphor for life. And I am really pumped today because my man, MauClair, is back. The last time we saw him, it was The Last Dance, and it was all MJ. And I thought I was a huge MJ fan, but I'm just saying, Matt, woo, he might have been a bigger MJ fan than me, which is scary, which is very scary right there. But we also want to talk just real quick. I just want to say, remind people, we're in the middle of a pandemic. Even though the sun came out, please continue to wash your hands, wear your mask, and, you know, as much as possible, physically distance. I don't believe in social distancing so much because I want you to have connections with people, but physical distance so you can keep your family and everybody else safe. So back to the show. Matt, welcome back. How you been?
Thank you. I'm doing great. It's always a pleasure to share some time with my favorite fellow MJ fan.
There you go.
NBA basketball connoisseur. So I appreciate you having me on.
I'm glad you're here because I know y'all were doing a little bit of vacationing, and I was a little bit jealous. I was seeing some mountains and whatnot. So
yeah, we let the mountains re-energize us a little bit before coming back into reality. We celebrated my wife Kristen her 40th birthday.
40, woo!
Yeah, that was a tough one, but she got through it with flying colors, and we just had a great time.
Beautiful. I don't even know if she knew, but I remembered her so much on her birthday. I sent her a text at midnight. I was like, I'm trying to be first. I don't even know if she knows that.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's how we're connected.
I love it.
All right, so let's jump into this show. The reason why we are here today is we're going to talk about the NBA bubble. So the first question I have for you, Matt, is before we even got to the point where the NBA did the restart, when they first started talking about it, given the circumstances, what were your thoughts then? And then as it got closer, did you get excited? Where are you at now? Tell me something.
Yeah, you know what? When I first heard about it, I thought, this is ridiculous. This is absolutely absurd. I wasn't really concerned about where it was taking place, the parameters, the safety measures. I just thought this isn't the right time to continue on with a league that is not like baseball necessarily. We haven't gotten into football yet, but similar to hockey, but it was starting along the same line. You know, basketball is a very intimate sport, I guess you could say.
Right, up close. You sweating on folks.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, you're talking about a ton of young men, professional players coming together and playing a very physical game that, you know, you exchange that kind of sweat. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I just thought that in terms of the pandemic, putting that in a category, the pandemic, I thought it was a little bit ambitious. But I think as time went on, I'm really loving what Adam Silver has done.
It's crazy.
Right?
Let me just jump in real quick because I felt the exact same way. And I was more like, listen, if I was somebody who had to opt whether to play or not to play, I would say not to play, because that is the question. I'm not playing. But if it comes to what I want to see as a sports fan, I was like, well, if they're willing to do this, why not do it? But I couldn't in my own brain see this ever happening, making sense, and just being something that they should do? I'm sorry, I had to interrupt because I felt
No. That's a great point. I mean, that's it. And I think the leadership of the NBA has always been, or at least I really respected David Stern, and I really admire Adam Silver, and I really love the way that Adam Silver has responded to the different situations that come about in the last year and a half, since he took over. And whether it's a pandemic or whether it's some other situations that we'll get to, I think he's addressed everything very professional. I think he has put the player's safety first and foremost, and he has made it very publicly known that if anything were to slip up, we're shutting it down.
Shut it down.
Shut it down. And I think that is a leader, because you come out, you state the facts. It's not a ton of different messages sprinkled around. It's a one message, very defined. And if it doesn't work, we tried, right?
There it is. Now get back to, if it were you and your family, let's say you're suiting up. What's your team? The Bulls? Who you got? Who you suiting up with?
I'd take the Lakers.
Okay, you're suiting up with the Lakers. You know what I'm saying? What's your position? What position you got? Whose place you taking?
I mean, I'm a shooting guard, so that's my. I'll take Kuzma's place. I'll take
Kuzma. Okay, so you're suiting up. Kuzma's out. They give you the call and they say, "Hey, Matt, we're going to the NBA bubble," and you say yes. Now, do you think that once you got there and you were away from Kristen and the rest of your family, that would affect your mental, or even like the way that you played? How do you think that would affect you if you were all of a sudden in their position where they're not seeing your family for weeks upon months, probably?
So, Margo, I think one of the things we have to do with NBA players and professional players all across the board is we have to separate the actual entertainment of what they do to the platform that they hold, right? I think one of the things that we've always admired about players were their stances on different issues, different situations in the world. I think when a situation like this comes up that we've never dealt with, but it's
Right.
a very page-turning kind of stance. I think as a player in a league that is so front and center as the NBA is, and especially now with social media and the different circumstances that have surrounded the NBA in the past 6 months to a year, I think that separating where your family is right now, making sure that they're safe, but continuing to build that platform that you have, from LeBron to Russell Westbrook to James Harden, to all these different players that have come out and said, you know what? Yeah, we might be in a little bit of danger, or we might be a little bit vulnerable to this virus, but it's something where we're sort of in that position to be that role model, right? And I think that that's something that's really important. So putting aside, making sure your family is right, making sure they're safe. Doesn't matter how much money they make. You can't say that, if you make,
No, especially in these times.
Exactly. $16 million, you're still in, doesn't matter. You can make as much as you want. You can still get the virus. But I think that they're doing a very good job of creating that strong presence in saying, we care about, and we're being very careful with protecting our players. But the game of basketball is more about the dribble and, the final score. It's about the journey of life, right? We talked about this before with
Metaphor for life.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's sort of the stance I have. And, I'm, like, how do you feel about that? Is that something that, is something you think about each time a game is played or you see a score on?
Well, I've been thinking about this period because I'm home by myself anyway. And because I'm home by myself, I feel like I could play, and that would be like the greatest thing on earth. I'd be out there playing, and I'm in my bubble because I'm already in a bubble. So I already have my bubble here by myself. So when I get to see people like you, and I do this podcast, and my family, we chat every night, I still feel like, even though we're calling it social distancing, I feel like I'm able to still socialize I'm still talking to people. I'm still seeing people. Thank God for technology. So I feel like the court would be like a respite. It would,
Absolutely.
it would be like a beautiful place. Now speaking of that, what do you think about, since it's come back, the aesthetics of the game? And I'll tell my opinion second. You tell me yours because I'm anxious to hear. And you just tell me what you think about the aesthetics. You know, they get the virtual fans, you know, all that kind of stuff. Go
I
for it.
mean, let's truthfully be honest. And I know if Derek and the family were on here, they might kind of agree. They would see my perspective, but this is a glorified AAU tournament. Let's just be truthfully honest with where we're at with this. I don't care if Lil Wayne is up in the virtual fan section. I don't care if
Shaq too. I saw Shaq.
yeah, Shaq was up there. It doesn't matter to me. It's the energy of the fans for NBA basketball
Right.
provides a different dynamic that you cannot replace. They're the way that the benches are set up is kind of comical, and I get the safety perspective, but it's kind of comical just because you have tiers and you have 6 feet apart,
And you're rubbing elbows on the court, but then you're separated on the bench.
exactly, you're wearing masks, and so there's really.
But just for the record, I would be one of those people wanting to be separate when I'm off the court, and I would have my mask on.
Absolutely, I know you would. I know you would.
Double mask for sure.
A bubble inside a bubble.
Yes, the double bubble.
The double bubble.
Double
Yeah.
bubble. We might have to coin that. I'm getting. You know what? That is a T-shirt.
That's a good one.
T-shirt. The NBA double bubble.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But I like the fact that in the end, Margo, it's basketball, right?
It's basketball.
I mean, I always say that I would watch Kristen and her sister play basketball if it came down to it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the game is pure no matter where you're playing it at. Because you have a hoop and a ball. And aside from the danger that we have, it's basketball.
It's basketball.
That's it. It's like watching Field of Dreams and saying it's baseball. No matter where you play it,
Right.
for the people who love it and admire it and appreciate the fluidity of it and the grace of it, it's basketball. It's what we love. So I don't care if I'm watching it at Disney with no fans. I don't care if I'm watching it at the playground with one person, barbecuing on the side.
Playing 33.
Yes, sir. Yes, yeah, absolutely. Yes, ma'am.
So let me talk about the aesthetics. So at
Sure.
first I heard there's no fans in there. I'm like, this is gonna be ridiculous. But to be honest, as a person sitting in my living room watching this game, the fans sometimes, like when I watch the Raptors game and Drake is basically sitting on the coach's lap, that irritates me. So these games to me with the virtual fans are perfect. With the piped in sound, I'm like, this is amazing. I have no distractions. I can just watch the game without distractions. So I literally have loved it. I feel like they should continue to do it. Fans should be, this is what I think. It should be an outer bubble. There should be a bubble, and then the fans are outside the bubble when we come back from this pandemic. Because for the people at home that can't afford to go to the games like myself, I am all in on virtual fans. I'm just saying.
That's fantastic. Now, here's a question, though. Did you try to sign up to become a virtual fan?
My cousin Kalila, she sent me the link, but because I've been preparing, as you know, like Kristen, for these cyber school interviews, I haven't had a chance to try to do it. But now that I'm through the interview process, I feel like at some point during these playoffs, I have to be a virtual fan.
That has to become a priority.
On my LeBron gear, I'm just saying, representing. I got on the USA LeBron shirt now, everybody that's out there.
And you got to bring it. You got to bring the whole thing.
I've seen some wild stuff. Little babies in the audience.
Oh
yeah. Oh yeah, just some wild stuff. People dressed up crazy.
Oh yeah, but what else are we working with here? What other aesthetics do they have in terms of
when they pipe in the crowd noise, which I feel like is good. I thought that was going to be generic, but it seems like authentic crowd noise.
Yeah. But you know what? I mean, when 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 somebody catches a oop or an and one, it still doesn't hold that kind of presence.
No. When
That
people are high-fiving and going crazy. Yeah, I agree. No, I agree totally with the whole energy part of it. Because I'll tell you this, my entire career when I was playing on a consistent basis, my whole statement to everybody, I would say, they say, why do you play? I would say, I play for the fans.
yeah,
That's literally, I said, I play for the fans, and I play because if I didn't play, I wouldn't be able to breathe.
yeah,
So I mean, I love, as a player, I need the fans. As
yeah.
a person sitting at home in Pittsburgh, hey, I'm all about virtual fans.
We will take what it gives us.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay, so what I want to dive into now is let's talk about the games. So, who for you has stood out? Who has been like, you can't believe they're playing this good? And this among the stars, among the superstars, who's been the superstar among the stars? Who do you think?
I mean, I just can't get over the fact that nobody can stop James Harden. You know, the way that that man creates space,
It's
I'm just
unreal.
not sure where his ability comes from. And he's not the fastest player in the world.
The best
He-
built. I
no,
mean,
he's
it's
he's
like,
really
where is this coming from?
yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know, I'm sure there's other players, and you know, there's a ton of great performances that we've seen from T.J. Warren to LeBron to you know some of the really you know well-known stars. But James Harden, for some reason, always stands out to me because no matter if we're in the bubble, if we're in front of 40,000 fans, I mean, he can get buckets and you know and just be that smooth offensive coordinator
It's
that
crazy.
I've never really seen anything like it. And he doesn't stand out as that superstar, right? He's not a Kobe Bryant or
No, no, like his swag is not like that.
no.
You don't have the Braun or the Kobe. You don't got that swag or the AI swag. You don't have that swag.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And you know the East is
Even the Russell Westbrook swag. You don't even got Russell swag.
no. He tries to, but that doesn't come across that well.
But
No, I mean, I guess Arizona State didn't really provide that class there to teach him that. But I I just can't get over the way that he's dropped it. And you know, whether we're talking about T.J. Warren or you know the
yeah,
LeBron,
we'll talk about the surprise people because to be honest, I never heard of TJ Warren. But before I talk about him, what about Luca? I forget who they were playing the other day.
yeah,
Luca, he can get to anywhere on the court. I'm sorry. It is ridiculous, and it looks like it's in slow motion. Like he should be doing the Russell Westbrook Rocky to sleep thing because he's putting you to sleep and then he's scoring at will. And then the other person, ridiculous, I think it was back to back 50 plus games, Damian Lillard.
oh yeah,
Oh my God. I
yeah.
think he shot from half court at one point, like on a pull up jumper.
He really did. He really did. But Damon was, I mean, I think he was doing this before we even got to this kind of like shortage of a season, you know. And I think when those kind of players are put in a position of pressure, I think that's where they step up the most. You know, when
Mhm.
people are focusing on them to fail or the criticism
They
of
should have never. Who was it? Who was that waved him off? Patrick Beverly should have never did that.
Patrick
Oh my!
Beverly and Paul George, they just
I'm gonna tell you right now. If Portland, I think they might have a game to get into the playoffs. If they get into the playoffs, mark my words. If they have to meet up with the Clippers ever, I feel sorry for them because he is no joke.
I know. But you know what? That brings up a good point, Margo. And I think that's one of the things that we always debate about. And this is what we looked at with Michael Jordan
The mental game.
is well, the mental game. And then there's that term, the switch, right?
Mm.
So we talk about this and, you know, there's such a strategy behind the end of the season and how teams handle their superstar playing times and, you know, the overload and resting and can they turn
Right.
on the switch when the time is right? I think that the NBA during the regular season is a very show me what you got kind of game.
Uh-huh.
You know, you have these kind of performances that that make SportsCenter, that you watch on YouTube, and that are very dynamic. But I think once you get to that NBA season or postseason, I think it totally shifts around. Every shot becomes a little bit more pressured. I think every bucket counts a little bit more. So I think we're at a point now where, yeah, I love Portland. I think Damian Lillard is dynamic, but when you break down their team, I love CJ McCollum. Carmelo Anthony was at a time good.
I don't know. He's balling out now too.
But who else
He
you
hit
got?
the biggest 3 last game.
Yeah, I mean, I get it, but who else you got?
Their big man's back. I can't think of his name.
On Whiteside.
No, not him. He's a backup now. The guy that was hurt. I can't think of his name. That's a shame. Oh my goodness. Is it Nurkic?
Oh yeah, Jared. Yeah,
he's back. He's back. So and see, what you're saying makes sense to me, because I think that's why what LeBron is doing with a third team now is remarkable. So I don't care what anybody says. And like you said, that switch, LeBron has that switch. Anytime you beat the Golden State Warriors when you were down 3-1, anytime when Kyrie Irving and Kevin Love are not even anywhere on your team, and you take your team basically to a 4-2 loss in the championship. Anytime you go back to a city that never even gave you one player when you were there the first time to help you, and you win a championship for them. I'm sorry, I've never seen anything like it. LeBron got the switch.
Yeah, I totally agree. But let me ask you this. As much as we look at the switch as a very dynamic trait and a great tactic, it's a really good thing to have for a team or a player. Can the switch be a detriment or backfire
if you rely on
for
it?
you?
I think absolutely too, especially because LeBron and them are sort of limping into the playoffs now, where Anthony Davis is up and down. So this will really be the telltale sign. If LeBron wins with the way that they've been playing, he's still been playing amazing.
Lights
but
out.
The way the rest of them have been playing, if he can still win this year, I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says, the dude is at the top.
Wait. Watch your words with how you finish that sentence.
I just said at the top.
Because the dude would be ... Is that a ... There's only 3 dots, but you have to ... that.
I'm a ... I'll ... it. So speaking of LeBron now, and we don't have much time left, I feel like he's the MVP. I love Giannis. Giannis is probably my 3rd favorite player. And he's my 3rd favorite player just because of who he is on the court and just how beautiful and humble and like all of that good stuff. LeBron's my favorite just because I want him to win again in Lakerville. And then Russell Westbrook just because I like the dog in him. I just like the dog in him. And so then I got Giannis. But I'm sorry, Giannis. You have done great back-to-back seasons, historical, whatever. But LeBron, for me, once again, to be able to take whatever team and get them to be the 1st seed every time. How are you the number 1 seed every single time? No. And I think it's 50% of the teams that Giannis's team lost to were from the Western Conference. And LeBron's in the Western Conference. That's what I'm saying.
Last time we checked. So I think it's an easy way to say or to pick an MVP, right? And I think that one of the things that we have trouble with, or that during
is defining what that is.
That's exactly it. And I think that because there's been a gap from January, February, let's say, to the beginning or the end of May, right?
Yeah, LeBron was definitely on pace when it ended. You were like, LeBron's about to take this.
Absolutely. But do we forget what LeBron did before this hit? He comes into the bubble, and he's LeBron. There's no doubt about that. But how do we go back and say, is he the MVP of the entire 9-month season,
Right.
or is he the MVP of this?
The 12-month season.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So I'm a big fan, and I'm a big admirer of Giannis. Obviously, what the Rockets guys are doing is phenomenal.
And we can't take James Harden out of there either.
No, that's what I'm saying. I mean, Dame, but these cats are doing it. Dame's doing it, and these guys are doing it in a situation where we've sort of restarted.
Right.
And I agree with your pick. I mean, there's nothing you can say about LeBron. He always brings the same thing to the table, and that's what makes a legend. I agree.
And every time they count him out, whoo, he's up off that mat.
Yeah, but let's see where that switch, how bright we can get that switch, or if we can even turn it on. In the bubble.
Bubble switch. That's another. We got to coin that one too. The bubble switch. All right, believe it or not, I believe we're winding down. Unbelievable. So let's talk real quick. Who's your coach of the year, if you have one? And then what else? What other question did I want to ask you? Defensive player of the year. I got Giannis on the defensive player of the year. Anthony Davis, close.
Yeah, I mean, I think for what Giannis can do on, for what kind of defensive player he is, and the dynamicness of what he brings to the table. I mean, he can cover a guard, he can cover a center, he can cover a power forward. I mean, his versatility is unbelievable, right? And I think that's something that you can't overlook. I wouldn't disagree with that. I mean, you would like to have a better conversation or kind of discussion on it, but I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I'm a big fan of these teams that have made a play or a position move inside of this quarantine or this bubble. Portland's coach, I mean, I'm loving the way that the Raptors are continuing to be strong.
The Raptors, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they're just so solid. Denver and how they're playing and their coach. I mean, I think I'm not a big fan of the Lakers head guy. He hasn't really shown me that Phil Jackson kind of aura. So I mean, I have to say I'd go with Toronto's coach. I like the way that he can manipulate these guys, and they really are under the radar. Siakam and Lowry and these cats, Powell, and they just come in under the radar. They get the job done. And wait, I mean, they'll be there in the end. I think they'll really be there in the end.
And the rookie of the year, real quick, Ja and Zion. Zion faded out when we came back to the restart. He faded out on me because I was like, if he played a whole season, he would definitely be it. But then he faded out. So I think it's walking away with Ja right now.
Ja. I mean, I'm still trying to find.
Not that he balled out either. Both of them had a chance to be.
Oh yeah, for sure.
One of them did that well.
For sure, but I think Ja was more consistent, and I continue to search for the rest of his name, but we can't find that. So I'll go with Ja, and I think that if he can continue to improve, if he can get a jump shot,
I feel like he could be one of the greatest players that ever played. He is that good. Point guards, I'll say.
Yeah.
I think he can be one of the best point guards ever. His game is no joke.
Super dynamic, super explosive. Obviously we haven't seen the true capacity of what he possesses, but the upside is boundless.
There it is. We got to wrap up this first episode. It goes so quick. But Matt, you're coming back for next week's episode. So everybody, this has been the Give It Up podcast on urbanmediatoday.com. Thank you to my guest, Mr. Matt MauClair. Shout out to Kiki Trevin and Mr. Alan Lincoln. Everyone, give it up and be blessed.
Urban Media Today is your source for entertainment, news, sports, and lifestyle. It's your online resource for health and fitness, providing tips to decrease your heart disease or increase your good spirits. When you can't find who made the top picks in HBCU sports or what part of the country is most exciting or affordable to travel with the entire family, Urban Media Today is there to provide you with all that you need and just a click away. Log on to urbanmediatoday.com now. Find us on social media. Urban Media Today, your lifestyle information and blog website.